Well, Phil, we said we would come back after the first 45 and reconvene, and hopefully the Dons claim 3 points. They have claimed 3 points tonight, running out 2-1 victors in Perth over St Johnstone. I think that sigh of relief says it all. What's your feelings at full time? We should be chuffed that we've got 3 points, but fucking hell, we made hard work of that.
Yeah, no, it's good to have the 3 points, but yeah, a little bit tough at times. We made it look that second half, but yeah, like at least we're still speaking about a win. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, congratulations to Jimmy Talene, who becomes the first Aberdeen manager to win his first 5 competitive games as well with those 3 points. I guess when you look back at come May, we'll say, look, it's the 3 points that all that matters. But those of us, David McLennan, I know you're in the comments already, and he's spoken about squad depth. You mentioned options off the bench. I think they maybe showed they wasn't as strong as we hoped. It just shows that we're not quite there. And obviously, Esther Sokler picking up a knock, Morris coming off with an injury as well. Maybe still a few players away from being the perfect squad just now.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think just maybe a commentator's curse or podcaster's curse of some description when we started claiming we had a little bit of strength there. But I think we maybe could have used a couple more options off the bench. I know, like I say, in the midfield area, we're looking a bit young. Obviously, Stewart being the main one that would come on. McGarry maybe could have done a job. I thought Shirley and Nielsen started to look a little bit leggy towards the end there, and I think just freshening up could have helped a little bit. But yeah, there's definitely, like I say, out wide somewhere is somewhere we really need to look at improving. I think going forward.
Yeah, that injury time when Mackenzie Kirk was running through and it felt like Rubezic was towing a caravan. I was like, please don't say we've agreed to come and do a full-time reaction. We're going to chuck away a 2-0 lead. And I think I'm glad we did hold on because, for a club like ourselves who do have ambitions to finish in the top three this season, some people will say, aim for the top five given, new management. Even if that's where your benchmark is for the season, you cannot be going to places like St Johnstone and throwing away a 2-0 lead if you want to be finishing as high up the league as possible. Chris Mainland saying it was a deserved win, but still waiting for a full 90-minute performance. Would you agree on that it was a deserved win overall?
Yeah, I think St Johnstone didn't really pose too much. I mean, I think their first shot on target was that one from outside the box by Matt Smith that Meathoff did save very handily. But yeah, they didn't really put us under much pressure until they started chasing the game for the last sort of 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think it was overall deserved, but I think the second half did leave a little bit to be desired. We wanted them to come out a little bit quicker. And I think the lack of cutting edge really could have came back to bite us there. But yeah, I think just the stop-start nature of that second half as well. Just I don't think really played into our hands. Obviously, it's unfortunate for the young guy from St Johnstone, McClellan, to go off with what looked a bit of a serious injury, and then Nilsson to go down with cramp as well. Just sort of made the game a little bit bitty at times, which for the sort of style we're going for, I don't think it's very conducive to Jimmy Ball.
I was a bit surprised seeing Nielsen go down with cramp, given he's already, had a few games in. I wasn't sure if it was a bit of sportsmanship or if he was going down with cramp, and a bit of concern given some of the injuries that we have kind of picked up. We're only in the first game, and that Sokler going off with a knock, Morris, whether it was cramp or an injury to his lower calf remains to be seen. I guess we'll find out more during the week. But John McDonald saying it wouldn't be Aberdeen if they didn't give my old ticker a workout. Yeah, I think we all forgot that we don't do things easily. Ewan Grant saying a shame the way it panned out at the end. A lot of good performances with a depleted squad. And I think there was a lot of positives to take away from tonight, but there is a lot of questions that still need answered. And we've already spoken about that squad size. Towards the end of the game as well, when you had that front three of Miovski, Ambrose and Gay, it didn't really feel Miovski was fully committed to some of the challenges, probably conscious of not getting injured. I was a bit concerned up there. But you've got to be positive in the fact that we did hold on. We spoke about how calm the defence looked. I am a bit gutted for the defence and the fact that they didn't go on to get that clean sheet, and it was an own goal that was our undoing of that. Overall, though, on the defence, given St Johnstone did put a fair number of attempts in and balls into the box, albeit not many shots on target. I think it was still just maybe 2 in the end. Would that be a big positive for you, the way our defence dealt with all those balls into the box?
Yeah, I think they were quite solid all game. And, we kind of knew, especially if the game got away from St Johnstone, that they were just going to be sort of hitting Hail Marys and try to go a bit more direct. And I think we did deal with that quite well. Ruby's got a bit of a granite head, which is quite useful for those scenarios. But it's unlucky for Gav. It's not really much he could do about the own goal, really. Came at him so quickly and just couldn't sort his feet. So it's a little bit gutting, considering, once again, maybe a commentator's curse of us speaking his praises. I think they could be quite pleased with that. Like I say, I thought Meatov as well was quite assured. Again, second half, the stop from Matt Smith, I thought, getting a strong hand and getting it away from danger. I mean, how many times last season did we see a shot like that get parried back into the 6-yard box? So
yeah,
definitely positives to take on the defensive side from the second half.
Positives to take from the defensive side. That's easy enough for me to say. But I think negatives would be in the forward area, because we created a load of chances. Those that were watching the game on Sky will have seen the stat that the first half was the first time we've created that amount of shots in the first half since December 2019, when we had, I think it was 16 against Hamilton. It was 14 shots that we had in that first half. But again, like the first half, when we were doing the analysis at halftime, a lot of you were saying we should have been 2 or 3-0 up. Shayden Morris's decision making in the second half was something I commented on the decision making in the first half. That didn't really improve in the second half as well. There was at least 2 occasions when he should have played a better pass than he did. The one that stuck out was where he tried to play an Esther Sokler. Bojan Miolski was the better ball before he eventually came off, when he should have got a corner for his attempt. He should have been slipping in Pap instead. And then again, when Pap come on, there was a couple of instances where he should have been playing a better ball, but he tried to take on the man. I kind of afforded Shayden a bit of a let-off with the second one, given we were 2-0 up. But when games get nervy like that, we saw it against Dumbarton. We spoke about the fact that we kept the foot on the throat, so to speak. We didn't really see that to the same effect tonight.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Morris is the answer. I do think there were a lot of positives about him tonight. I thought as a ball carrier, he was really, really good at sort of getting us up the pitch. Like you've mentioned, it was the sort of end product that was really lacking, unfortunately. But yeah, just wasteful, a little bit slack with a couple of the offside decisions. Obviously, one in the first half with Sockler, and then I thought Ambrose as well. You're looking right across the line. Just a little bit, maybe down to lack of game time, lack of experience as well as a young player. But I think, like I say, the options out wide are something to be a little bit desired for. I think going forward, especially if it looks like we're going to be continuing with Miovski as well. Like you said, he looked a little bit sheepish in sort of try to close out that game, not really wanting to do too much of the press and go into challenges. So hopefully it's something, like I said, a few weeks left in the window. More time for the squad to sort of get Jimmy's ideas. So hopefully,
yeah, and I think with the striking issue, in inverted commas, if you want to put it that way, is that if Miovski is away, obviously Sokler comes off with a supposed knock. How serious is that? Ambrose and Gay, are they the answer? And then you've got Duke being awarded squad number 11, and he's still nowhere to be seen. So a lot of you in the comments tonight speaking about the fact that Kaiser here saying at least 4 players needed, 2 midfielders and 2 wingers he's after. I still think we're a striker short. For me, Esther showed that again in the first half. That one-on-one really should have found the back of the net. Given how well he did for the one where he was, okay, albeit a yard offside, I thought he was a lot more composed, taking it round the keeper and then finishing it. He just kind of lost that composure second time around. But I do feel a serious injury to Esther. We're really short up top. Ryan, speaking about the subs, saying there were some good performances tonight, but squad depth is worrying for him. Subs coming on look well off it against better teams. I don't think it'll be enough. Is that a legitimate concern just now, or something that, we're one game in, let's focus on the 3 points, and then we've got 2 home games now to look forward to in the league, and hopefully, as we kind of spoke about when the fixtures come out, looking to get that 9 out of 9 from those first 3 games?
Yeah, I don't think it's, just now something that we can really look at as season defining. I think it's a legitimate concern. I think we've all said that we're needing to bring in some bodies. Like I'd said on Twitter as well, I would have maybe liked to seen Vinny and Alfie Stewart maybe getting a run out just to sort of freshen up. Whether they would have been a bit more on the ball than Pap and Ambrose is, it's all just hypothetical. But I think definitely needing that little bit of extra quality. We had it in pockets tonight. McGrath, I thought, was superb as always, but just need, and then I think losing Clarkson's obviously a big impact on that as well. Yep. Just having that creativity in forward areas. So hopefully there's a couple of bodies to come, and hopefully they're pretty good.
Yeah, and they're signed before we face St Mirren on Sunday. Jack Frame asking about our thoughts on Gavin Malloy. He's not convinced yet, can't see the hype, feels he's a bit of a liability. I know we spoke about his performance in the first half. To be honest, I thought he was very assured tonight. Unlucky with the own goals, as you've already mentioned, Phil. Really nothing he could do in terms of sorting his feet out, but for both of us probably being like Jack, a bit unimpressed and maybe not seeing some of the hype. I know Adam Gold will catch up on this episode later and jump to Gavin's defence. But yeah, I thought Gavin looked good tonight and actually was quite unlucky not to find himself on the score sheet as well.
Yeah, no, I thought he played really well tonight. Obviously, neither of our centre-halves really got their foot on the ball as much, which is where I kind of found his weakness lay a little bit in the League Cup games, was when he did have the ball at feet. So maybe it is a situation where as a sort of no-nonsense defender is really works best. And like you say, I thought, again, I think it was all down to McGrath's ball, but really unfortunate not to see his header sort of going at the far corner. But yeah, just I thought he was just really, and I think it was the sort of game he needed where he was rather composed. The own goal maybe takes away from that, but outside of that, a pretty strong performance, I thought.
Yeah, and I'm just going to comment on this because I know it's going to wind Adam up, that Kaiser saying McDonald would still be his first choice centre-half. Would you be looking at a change in that centre-half area, or happy enough to stick with what you've seen after tonight?
I'd be happy enough to stick for the time being. I think there's no doubts that McDonald kind of brings a little bit more composure, but I think that is just down to him being a different type of defender to Gavin Ruby. So no, I'd be inclined to stick with the two, and especially with them both being younger centre halves, and it's sort of appearing to be that's the sort of route we're going down for the future with the two of them. I'd be inclined to give it more time to sort of gel.
Yeah, Sean McDonald saying that 14 shots at goal in the first half, that is hugely positive. I suppose we kind of touched on it a little bit in the fact that the conversion rate for some of the shots that we've had and shots on target wasn't there. And I suppose that's only feels like a factor given we were hanging on at the end of the game tonight. Had this game probably finished 2-0, we wouldn't be maybe as critical as we're being.
Yeah, and I think that's sometimes the difficulty of coming on and doing one of these so soon after the game, and especially when you are sort of biting your nails towards the end of it, that you do sort of have that sort of, maybe not a more negative spin, because, we're still quite happy with how it's turned out, but, you sort of have that little bit of uncertainty, where I think, like you say, we need to be a little bit more clinical. Against some tougher teams, we might sort of see this come back and bite us if that was the way we were sort of trying to close out a game with teams that are more likely to take their chances. So hopefully it's something Jimmy learns from as well. New to the league, so sort of getting used to how teams like us and Johnstone will play in the last sort of 10 minutes is probably good to kind of get out of the way quite early doors.
Yeah, and in terms of the striking options, obviously kind of commenting just now on what we've got and the fact that Duke's got a squad number. One player that can't be bothered commenting, what's happened to Alfie Bavidge? Does Jimmy not rate him? Alfie Bavidge not listed in the squad numbers for this season. I did think that was a bit of a surprise, potentially a loan move coming up. Obviously, we've already seen Adam Emsley and Finlay Marshall move to Cove in the past week. Finlay Marshall on the score sheet at the weekend. Is it likely then, reading on that Alfie Bavidge is set for another loan move this season?
Well, I think he did get a squad number today, did he not? Because they released an updated version with Alfie Stewart on it as well.
Oh, I didn't actually open that because I thought I'd already seen that, so I didn't actually go and look to see that.
Someone can either hopefully mention it in the comments. I'm pretty sure I think Bav's 36, I think, or something along those lines. Whether there's still low move to come, I'm not sure, because I did think it was a bit strange it didn't feature too much in the League Cup. So, yeah, I mean, I know that Jimmy had mentioned today in his interview on Sky that one of his big things is looking at getting the youth involved. So hopefully, Bavidge maybe does get in around the squad if he is to stick around by the end of August. So, yeah, see, Alfie 36, look at me, Oracle and knowledge here, Glenn.
Yeah, Chilling there, confirming that you are much more up to date than I am on these things. And yeah, Alfie Stewart getting number 35, as Jack Frame says. Kaiser saying being critical is good, it drives the players on to improve. Obviously, we've jumped on live, so we can't really comment on what Jimmy's reacting to the game tonight. I just wonder what his thoughts will have been on that second half, maybe more so the last 15 minutes. Well, actually really 25 once you add on the injury time that we got as well. And whether he's a bit frustrated by that second half performance, because again, going back to that point that Chris Mainland made, we've yet to see a complete 90 performance, but really a complete performance under Jimmy so far.
Yeah, I think sort of as an outsider looking in to how I feel like Jimmy is as a sort of manager, I think he will probably be a little bit critical. I think he strikes me as a bit of a perfectionist in a way, where he really wants to get the best out of not only the players but the sort of best out of himself and his own game plan. So I think there will probably be some sort of conversation had, whether it's more of a sort of, like he said again in the Sky interview, that he likes to take a little bit of the blame to allow players to sort of go out and sort of flourish in their own ways. Will be yet to be seen, but I think we've kind of traded it out where we've been second half performers for the first four, and we finally showed up in our first half and then just kind of forgot to play the second 45. So
yeah, we've kind of shown up in spells of both halves of tonight's game. Obviously, we go again on Sunday. It was a game that didn't really have a lot of quality, but I mean, the assist for the second goal was probably the biggest amount of quality. The one-touch football and the pass from Nielsen into Jamie McGrath that was a joy to watch, at least.
I mean, the way I've kind of described it is it almost feels like Ange Ball 2.0 in my head. It's kind of how Ange had Celtic playing, and it's such a fun brand of football to watch. But just sort of going back to sort of showing up in spells like with the second goal, I think it is something, I guess, positive we can take, because it kind of shows that it's there and it's sort of coming. If we can put it all together, I think we will be a really tough team to play against this season for any team that comes up against us, whether it's a Celtic or a Ross County. I think we're going to be quite tough if we can just pull it all together. But that second goal and Nielsen's celebration as well, I quite enjoyed heading off straight into the stands.
Celebrating his own assist.
Yeah, and I would as well, because it was perfectly weighted. But yeah, McGrath's finish as well, I thought was again, a sign of a player that's really confident. Just I think he's had a really good run, and I think he really suits playing under Jimmy, just getting that freedom to sort of float around and pick up the spaces. So yeah, hopefully more to come on the sort of one touch quick counter in Reds, because it was very fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think on Nielsen more specifically, though, he, as Chris Sutton kept saying during commentary, how much of a balance he gave the squad compared to last season. Obviously, we've spoken about that on here, and it's been spoken about by many a fan as well, that he is actually quite an astute signing into that midfield. It doesn't make us powder puff anymore. It's helped Shinnie move on in terms of being that little buzz player in the final third rather than running around like a headless chicken in front of the back four. I guess it's just that question mark of how that aging midfield, as was being pointed out in the comments, cope with the games and playing there regularly. Obviously, at the moment with Dante Polvara being injured, the cramp that we saw tonight from Nielsen, as I said, a little bit of frustration for me on that, seeing that, purely given the couple of other injuries that we saw and concerns that I thought he would be a bit more match fit. But I think a positive in that midfield that we didn't look overrun when Saints were getting in. And there was a couple of those kind of shithouse moments where we saw, Nielsen flapping down, and we're quite good sometimes, I thought, with our game management, trying to time waste as we got towards the final few minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I think again, that's the sort of perk you have of an experienced midfielder. Is they've been around the block, they know exactly how to sort of kill out a game. A bit like you, I was a bit concerned just to see how leggy we sort of got, and it was tough because we didn't really have the options sort of to bring off the bench. Like I say, I think the only real sort of out and out midfielder would have really been Jack Milner, Alfie Stewart.
Yeah.
So, when you're only up by a goal at that point, do you risk taking off a leader like Shinnie or a really solid player in Nielsen to bring on one of the younger guys? It's kind of try to strike that balance. So I'm hoping, as the season goes on, we maybe find a way that works. And again, maybe just kill off games a little bit earlier when we're as dominant as we are.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, that will come. And again, Sean saying, game 1, 3 points. We're the better team for large parts. We should be positive and take those positives, I guess, into the weekend's game as St Mirren come to town for the first home game in the league this season. St Mirren, as I said, we're obviously reacting to this live after the game on Monday night. St Mirren have got their game on Thursday at home to Brann. European football didn't affect them too much yesterday, swiftly defeating a poor Hibs side 3-0. Although I don't know how much we can read into how poor Hibs were. I have to say I was surprised to see St Mirren be so positive. I thought they might have one eye on the European game. Do you think it might be different, though, this Sunday, depending how the first leg goes? Because they might have one eye on potential qualification coming up to Pittodrie on Sunday.
I think it'll be tough. I think Brann will be a bit of a tougher test than Valor were. So I think Thursday will be interesting to see how St Mirren sort of approach that. I think it'll also be interesting to see as well if Nielsen ends up down in Paisley. Obviously, maybe see some of his former teammates, or maybe even giving them a little bit of inside scoop or getting a bit of inside scoop. But I think Sunday, first league game at home for Jimmy, I think it'll be a good crowd, and I'm hoping that'll be enough to really sort of elevate us in the moments where we do seem to. Because again, there will be spells where we probably are sort of dragging a little bit or maybe under the cosh. So like having that sort of home bounce will hopefully drag us through those periods. But yeah, I think we've still got the quality, like we said, for this sort of opening run to hopefully get through it pretty comfortably. But yeah, like we said, maybe a new signing in before Sunday again, just to sort of perk us all up a little bit after that sort of last half hour of football.
Yeah, and I think, it's interesting because I thought the style of play that we played tonight would have maybe caused St Johnstone to be a bit more tired, some of that expansive high press football. I just wonder how much that may actually impact a team that has been already playing a number of games this season and then has gone Sunday, Thursday, Sunday. Unfortunately, they're not travelling to Norway this week. They are at home, so the only travel that they have to do it is up here because, of course, they were at home, as you say, to Valour last Thursday, home to St Mirren. So it's maybe one thing that won't be affecting them too much, but I just wonder if we can come out the blocks, have that little bit of high intensity, high press that we can look to cause St Mirren a few problems. I guess from an Aberdeen point of view, providing Bojan Miovski's still an Aberdeen player come Sunday, would you be expecting him to start once again?
Yes, absolutely. I think we've got to play our best players, even if he did, like I say, look a little bit lazy and sheepish at times in the press. It's undoubtable the quality that he does bring, especially as we saw in that first half, just his ability to sort of bring the quality going forward and link up the play. And like I say, I think St Mirren probably struggle from the same issue as us. They've not really brought in too many bodies, and they've got a couple of injuries. I think Kilty and one of the Northern Irish guys, one of the many Northern Irish guys, are out injured. So I think they'll be in the same sense of they'll have their best team on Thursday and probably have to play the majority of them again against us on Sunday. So hopefully the tiredness will seep into a couple of mistakes and really sort of struggle against our quick press.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just reading some of the comments that are coming in on the Twitter page as well. One comment here saying about how Nielsen was good, have to give it time and keep the faith if, results or games aren't going our way. And I think, as you've already pointed out, this could be a tricky test on Sunday because St Mirren have looked good this season. I thought they looked good in that game against Valour, but how much you can read into that against Icelandic opposition remains to be seen. But it's important, and we saw tonight the backing that a really impressive away crowd gave to the team and continue to do so in those last 10, 15 minutes when obviously it went to 2-1. So it's really important that once again, if the game isn't maybe going our way or St Mirren are being stuffy, as we tend to see when teams come up to Pittodrie, that the fans stick with them and continue to get behind the team because, as we've said, despite little glimpses and maybe areas where we're a bit frustrated and concerned by tonight, the 3 points are on the board and we're only one of 3 teams to do that. And it's an opportunity this Sunday to put 3 points between us and St Mirren, of course, a team that finished above us last season as well.
Yeah, and like I said, the main thing is the 3 points. We're probably being a little bit pernickety in what we're picking up on.
Yeah,
because we're doing it to speak about things.
Or we're doing it straight after the game. Had
Yeah.
we probably been doing this tomorrow night, it would be like look, I've calmed down now. It's, the 3 points. Like, yes, it was annoying at the time, but let's look at the positives, as Sean obviously said.
Yeah, and I think again that at the end of the season, it's the points that matter. So, and I think if we can really, against St Mirren, even if it is a stuffy game, pick up those 3 points, it's a positive for us. Because how many sticky games last season did we just totally, just nonchalantly show up to expecting to win and either get blown away or snooze out a boring 0-0 that really came back to bite us.
Or the other way you look at it is last season or a couple seasons ago, we probably don't win the game tonight and we probably chuck that 2-0 lead. As Colin Gale says, everybody did a shift in that second half. And I think the good thing was when Jimmy saw a couple of players maybe not putting in the shift or not putting in the levels required, they were taken off and another player was put on. Yeah, some people will maybe question the level of shift put in, but there was commitment to the cause, and that's good. And I think going back to that point that you've made, if we do go on to pick up 3 points on Sunday, it continues that momentum, it continues that feel-good factor, and the confidence in the players and the fans just continues to grow. And those little seeps of negativity that we have will just become little bits of concern. And I'm sure the club Certainly in the background, Stephen Gunn and Alan Burrows are working hard to get those targets that I'm sure Jimmy and the rest involved in the recruitment process have identified to get them in and over the line. But as we've seen plenty of times, it's maybe not as straightforward as we hope. We've certainly seen this season already signings just coming out of the blue when we least expect it.
Yeah, just going back to your point as well, sort of comparing it to seasons gone by, I think one thing that I did quite, appreciate was that we didn't just seem to sit in. How many times sort of last season did we maybe take a 1-0 lead or sort of be up by a goal in the last sort of few minutes and just go, 11 bodies behind the ball? We still sort of kept that presence of trying to, create the lines between midfield and defence and sort of have a couple of bodies up front. So that was quite, quite rewarding to see, and hopefully something that sticks going forward if we are in a sort of tight situation.
And it wasn't just a case of hoofing the ball aimlessly up the pitch.
No, exactly. There was still a little bit of purpose to how we're trying to play. Looking at Sunday as well, Hibs, if they play like they did against St Mirren, are going to get absolutely torn apart by Celtic. So you're even looking then in terms of confidence and momentum that 2 games into the season we could have a 6-point buffer over Hibs.
Yeah.
Which going off of last season was a close rival in terms of pushing for 7th place. So I think there's a lot to be sort of taken from how we might approach going into Sunday and the sort of knock-on effect it can have for the season as a whole.
Yeah, and I was just on the back of that point there, was looking at what the fixtures are for this weekend. You've got Dundee, who looked very good yesterday, playing Hearts. So the 3 points for us are on the board. Those Dundee, Hearts, Hibs already have to chase us. Kilmarnock as well, who finished above us. So I do think that these kind of factors, they do play on fans' minds, and I'm sure in the build-up, as we move on, folk will be like, oh, I think it was Crocker said we only picked up 2 points in our first out of 15 available last season. So we've already done better than last season in the first game as well. And if we can then go and treble that on Sunday would be even better. David McLennan also picking up a good point that I did like, and I'm sure we'll continue to see on Sunday and throughout the season, about the game management in terms of when Jimmy did go to his bench, saying he's much better than Barry at using his bench. And I thought he did it as well in terms of timings. He slowed the game down, something that I was quite critical of last season under Barry Robson.
Yeah, no, I think the timings of his subs were obviously, the Soccer one was maybe out with his control with an injury, sort of same with Morris, but you didn't leave it too late. Subs are warming up at the hour mark and getting ready to come on. Obviously, scoring the goal probably delayed it ever so slightly. But I think he just needs those extra bodies of quality as well. Like I said, we'd have maybe liked seeing someone like Vinny maybe coming on just to keep that sort of pace up front for getting us sort of on the front foot and sort of leading the press. But definitely much more enjoyable than holding out to the 88th minute to see a centre half coming off for a centre half.
Well, and I did notice as the full-time whistle blew, Richard Jensen was ready to come on, but I also did wonder at one point if we were even going to see Ryan Duncan, kind of that bit of experience in terms of the Premiership, but Jimmy opting for Gay and Ambrose instead, so that's fair enough. But I'm sure we'll see other players as Vinny, Duncan being used between now and the transfer window, because I'm sure we will be looking to rotate the squad and give players minutes. It feels like that's something that Jimmy's been communicating in his press conferences as well. And I think as well, when we look towards Sunday's game, we've spoken about Miovski staying in the team. We have touched slightly on the defence as well. I do think we'll still see the same back four on Sunday, because own goal aside, I think they looked very assured. They looked very calm. Also, apart from when Graham Shinney nearly tried his best to chuck the game in injury time by selling Nicky Devlin short as well. I do think that the more you keep the back line the same, again, the more trust they have in each other, the more confidence they build. So I think certainly for the next few weeks, that's the back line and keeper we're going to see.
Yeah, to be honest, I think not knowing anything about the severity of Morris and Sockler's injuries, I think it'll probably just be the same team on Sunday.
Yeah.
And obviously, especially if there's no signings coming in, I don't think there's really too much we can change.
No.
The subs that came on didn't really do anything to merit starting on Sunday. Nobody came on with a wonder goal or like a sort of 10 out of 10 performance. So I think it will be probably unchanged on Sunday, I would imagine.
Yeah, and as I say, I think depending on the severity of injury to Morris and Sokler, I would be exactly the same, expecting to see the same starting 11. Unless, of course, we've got a tricky Scandinavian winger lined up or some mad striker that's going to score us 30 goals this season and they opt to start him instead of Bojan. Who knows? But look, we don't often do these live reactions. I hope you've enjoyed the 2 episodes that we've produced today, both halftime and full time. Obviously, if you're listening back on audio, I'm going to combine them, so it will just be the 1 episode. But thank you very much to all of you that have joined in. As I said, it's not something we do often because normally we would try and get to the game. It's just so happened that me and you tonight couldn't get there, Phil. So thanks very much for also agreeing and joining in. Hopefully folk haven't found it too overly emotive, I think.
Yeah, hopefully not. Like I say, I think we're very self-aware that doing this 2 minutes after the game finished was maybe not the wisest choice in terms of emotions. So promise we're normally happy-go-lucky, honest.
Yeah, we're not trying to be overly critical. It's just, I think, the natural feeling when a game was comfortable and then we were just hanging on towards the end. So thank you very much to everyone that has tuned in tonight. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a like, subscribe. It's free to do so. Or, of course, you can join the membership program as well. If you're listening back on audio, why not leave a review, subscribe wherever you're listening to. It's, of course, free to do so. Thank you very much for your continued support. Why not as well, feel free to share the episode with your friends and fellow Aberdeen fans as well. Until next time, enjoy your week and let's go out and get those 3 points against St Mirren. See you next time.